So, welcome back to the second part of my lecture for class 10 writing skills. As in my previous lecture, I had given you a breakup of the board pattern paper, and I had also told you that in my next lecture, I shall be discussing in detail, one by one, the writing skills which are there in your syllabus. So, the first one that we're going to be doing is factual description, which is question number 4. 1 and 2 are the reading comprehension questions. So they form a part of section A. We're not discussing that just now. We will be discussing question 3 and question 4, that is the email and the factual description in this particular lecture. So in the beginning, I start with a discussion on factual description. As the name factual description suggests, a factual description is a description of facts. Very, very simply stated, it's a description of facts. And it is when you're told that you need to describe facts, what are the facts that are asked here? You are asked to describe a place, a person, an object, or an event. So, with this, we're just going to move directly into the factual description. So, as you can see, a factual description is nothing but an exact and detailed description of a person, place, thing, or event in a systematic manner. Now, these are the four kind of descriptions that you will be getting in your board exams. It could either be a person, a place, a thing, or an event. And when you are asked to describe it or to give a description, a factual description, you have to give it in a very systematic manner. Like, suppose I'm talking about a person, you cannot be talking about that. If you're supposed to be describing your father, let's say, you cannot just say that he's 5 feet tall, he's very handsome, he's very honest, and then go on to describe his eyes in 2 minutes afterwards. You have to talk about all the physical traits together and then the character and etc. etc. So you have to be very, very organized. So the best way, as I've already told you in a previous lecture, is to first collect your ideas. Collect your ideas, just take the last page of your sheet, write down all your ideas, like what would you like to mention in your particular writing skill. Once you've done that, and you don't need to spend sentences and sentences over it, just write down one word, like whether you'd like to speak about the eyes, his stature, his complexion, his characteristics, like in the sense of hardworking, what impact he has on you. And so you're just going to be putting down those in one word, and then organize what you'd like to write first, second, finally the third, and then the final conclusion. Coming to the second point here, the description has to be based on the inputs given rather than on your own personal opinion or personal speculations. Like, suppose, for example, if I give you the description of Bill Gates, from your own reading about Bill Gates, you may be knowing a number of things about Bill Gates, but you have to focus only on things which are there in the question which is given to you. You cannot just start writing things about him which you know but which are not mentioned in the question. Again, you cannot speculate. Speculate means you cannot make studied guesses. Okay, since you know that was in he is supposed to be one of the richest people, you start off making some assumptions about him. So you cannot do that, right? So you have to have a very systematic and a very studied approach when you attempt such a question. And the word limit for a factual description is 100 words. As already detailed to you, it is going to be a 4-marker question. I've already told you how you are going to be attempting your paper, in what order, what part of your paper should you be attempting first and then later, so that you are able to do it in a systematic way and you are able to finish all your questions with sufficient time to revise. So now let's talk about people. If you can see on the screen here, is when you're asked to describe a person, obviously if you've been given a particular name, you have to speak about his name. Relationship to the writer, if you it's someone who is just a relation of yours, like could be a mother, father, a gardener, a librarian, or something like that. And if not a relationship, obviously this point is not going to come in. You have to speak about his social status, his role, his profession. If I, as I was talking about, say, if I was asked to say, write something on um, Donald Trump, so I would be talking about him being a politician and a business person. From business, he generally went into politics. So I would be speaking about his role and his profession. Looks and appearance you have to speak about. When you speak about the looks and appearance, you're going to be speaking about the features. You're not going to be critical, you're not going to be mocking, you're not going to make fun. You're just going to make a factual statement. Like he has a, if you look at the face cuts, you have a rounded face, you have a square face, you have a comparatively conical face. So these are the kind of faces that you could have mentioned. The hair color, whether wavy, whether curly, whether straight, eyes, lips, teeth. If there's anything in particular that you want to mention, that can be written. If you are speaking in particular about a person who's lost, then you can be speaking about the clothes that he was wearing when he was last seen. Or if, like, we are speaking about, say, you're asked to write about Indira Gandhi. So Indira Gandhi was a person who was always seen in saris. So then you can be speaking about her attire as well. So coming next to the characteristics of the personality, in the sense, what are the characters that he's well known for? Whether you're going to speak about his honesty, about his truthfulness, about his integrity, about his sincerity, and if he's a very well known thug or a cheat, it's only then that you're going to be speaking about his negative traits. Is that okay? Otherwise, you're not going to be mentioning anything other than that. And all these may not be given to you, but there are certain things which you can pick out from the points that are given to you. And then you have to speak about opinion of others about him or her. Now, I've just given you two examples. Like in your previous year's papers, you've been asked to describe an uncle who had come to visit your father in his absence. So suppose your father then asks you to describe that uncle, you will have to say, okay, um, when uh, there was a bell at the door, and when I opened the door, there was this gentleman who introduced himself as dash dash, and he was short, etc., etc. So this is how you continue. Okay. The second example is that of describing a beggar who you have seen on a street crossing. So these are the kind of examples which have already come in board papers, and so you can get a fair idea of the kind of things you may be asked to describe. You may be also asked to describe a person who's a well-known personality. Coming next to the other thing which you may be asked to describe is a thing or an object. A thing or an object can include something like a pair of spectacles, it can be a pen, it can be a water bottle, anything. Even in a previous year's paper, they've been asked to describe a coin, a 1 rupee coin. So anything can be asked. So here again, let's see what are the things that should come into your particular paragraph. The name, the structure. When I say structure, what is it made of? How does it look? Whether it's long, short. If you're talking about a particular pen, in that case, suppose I ask you to describe a Reynolds pen. You know that a Reynolds pen has a refill, and it generally is a ballpoint pen, and you can continue writing that. But if it is in generic, you're asked to describe about a pen can be having a number of shapes. It can be short, it can be long, it can be slim, it can be fat, it can be a ball pen, it can be a gel pen. So there are varieties. Then you have to mention the shape, the straight, curved, vertical, sloping, star shape, circular, etc. If you're talking about, say, as I was telling you, if you're talking in particular about a, say, a Xerox machine or a photocopy machine. Here, then Xerox, as you know, is a company. Canon is also a company. So you can then speak about the company, the model, the year of manufacture, And if it, in case it is a natural object, like suppose in a previous year, they've also been asked to describe water. So obviously, you cannot be having the model and the year of manufacture of something as natural as water. In that case, you simply have to talk about water, its transparency, its clarity, what it is used for. It is it is that thing which gives us sustenance in life. And so you have to build up your paragraph on such things. Coming next, then you have to speak about the color, the dimension, capacity, operational details, if it is a gadget, if it performs any functions, what are the kind of price ranges from low to high, how easily it is available, what materials it is made of, and what are the uses of that thing. From the previous years, you have questions which come up like to describe a gift pen which you have received on your birthday, or to describe a lost umbrella to the lost and found in charge. So, suppose I just pick up this and I describe that lost umbrella. I say, my umbrella, which was my shield in my rainy days. Now, the first sentence has to be a very catchy sentence because everyone else is going to be writing about the same thing as you are. How are you going to make your particular skill different from the others? That is just by that first sentence and the concluding sentence, where you will be able to put in your bit about your the particular thing that you're describing. So my umbrella, which is the shield in my rainy days, has somehow got misplaced. It was a beautiful tall umbrella, and it was full of stars and the sun. So it was in total contrast to the rainy days when I used to take it out. But it was also something which I used for my sunny days. The last time I saw it was at such and such place. The handle was a beautiful wooden handle, and it was one which I could carry over my arm if I wished to, because it had a ring which was used as a handle, and it was in its cover. So anyone who finds it should be able to identify it, because my name, and you can just mention a name, XYZ, has been etched on it in pencil or in cut by me, so that if anyone does find it, they can return it to me. My umbrella is one of my most prized possessions, and it was a thing of inspiration for me because it always gave me some support whenever I went out, whether it be the sun and the rain. So, something like that you could have put in. Remember, you have to put in around 100 words for your factual description. Now, coming to the third kind of thing that you would be asked to describe would be a place. Now, when you're coming to a place, so you obviously will be told about a particular place you have visited. Like you could be asked to describe the Red Fort. Now, it's not that everyone would have gone to the Red Fort. It is just that in that case, you will be given some pointers and you have to base your writing skill on those pointers. So, obviously, the first thing would be the name, where it is located, in the sense of if it's if whether it's in the north of the country, the south of the country, which state it is located, and if you're talking about a smaller thing like could be a classroom or a computer lab or a library, then you can be speaking about where exactly it is located in the school, how big it is, how many people it can house, what is the atmosphere in that particular place, what kind of a building or a park it is, the sights and sounds that can be heard, what is it used for, like the purpose or the use, the history of that place, if there is a history associated with the place, in the sense that who built it, when was it built, and what is the importance of that particular structure or particular monument in history, and then come up with a summing up or a comparison with an earlier visit to the same place. Is that okay? So I've just given you a few examples. Your examples would be first to describe a sea beach to which you went for your vacation. It's a very common one. And you can just pick up any place which has a beach. You do not need to be very very specific, and most of us would generally know what you find in a beach, what you find in a mountain location, what you find in an adventure park. So these are things which you should keep in your mind when you go and prepare for places that you visit. You could have a library, you could have a computer lab, you could have the garden next door. So you talk about the sights and sounds which are there, the history of that place, who made it, when did it come into function. If you're talking about a garden, the kind of swings, the kinds of facilities. Similarly, in a computer lab or a physics lab or some such thing, you could be asked to describe your school canteen. So you should be having these things in your mind. Please refrain from giving or divulging any information about yourself, about your school, because that would be treated as trying to influence the examiner. Is that okay? Another example, which I picked up from a previous year's paper, is to describe the Jantar Mantar in New Delhi. Obviously, again, as I told you, it's not necessary that all of you would have gone to see and would have a fair idea of what the Jantar Mantar is, what it looks like. So, on all such cases where you are asked to write about a specific thing, you will generally be given pointers or hints, and you have to develop your writing skill on that. Is that okay? Now, so this was as far as your factual description is concerned. As I told you, it's a four marker to be attempted at the max in 100 words. Coming, that was question number four. I'll just go in reverse order. In question number three, we are going to be talking about email. Sorry. Uh, In today's world, it's very rare that we actually write letters in the physical sense, which we post to people, because a postal communication takes much longer. It is only when you have to send something in physical format that we use that format, where we are sending something written and it is going by post to the next person. In all other communication, a much easier and a much faster, much more convenient way of communicating, and you know within a few minutes whether your communication has been received at the other end. So an email is a much more efficient and a much more uh, confident way of sending your or whatever relevant details you need to send. But then, since an email is an online communication, and there have been many incidents of cyber crimes, so there are certain social and cyber etiquette to be followed. There are certain things, because otherwise your systems are flooded with too much of information. So you need to follow a certain kind of etiquette when you are addressing an email to another person. So in your particular school exam, your email is going to be for 3 marks, and it being a tiny miny 3 marks, you're just going to be asked to attempt it in 50 words. It would carry 3 marks and has to be attempted in in 50 words. Now, 50 words is a misnomer, because it's very difficult to complete any composition in 50 words, but try and make it as crisp as possible and as close to 50 words as is possible, because the kind of topics that you're going to be given are very short topics. They would not really require you to be writing pages and pages. Like, suppose you have to go out. I'll just first tell you about the kind of topics. Your first topic, the email question, would be in the form of an application to school authorities. It could be for leave, it could be for change of subject, it could be for change of section, a bus route change, or any such related school inquiry. You may have lost your I-card or any such thing. You may be wanting a bona fide certificate. So these are the kind of things that you may be actually looking for when you're writing an email to school authorities. Now, when suppose you're writing uh, an application for leave, now you do not need to go and tell the whole history and geography of why you are applying for leave. Just enough, it is enough to mention that suppose you're going out, you need a leave to attend your cousin's marriage. You can just say that uh, I so and so request you to kindly grant me leave from this date to this date, as I would be away out of station for the said dates on account of my cousin's marriage. I resolve and I confirm that I will be completing my work which has been done in my absence. So, this much is more than enough. It is just a form of intimation and seeking permission through the school authorities. You do not need to write that my sister is getting married in such and such place, she is getting married after so many days, and you don't need to give that much of history. And this is the only way you shall be able to complete it in 50 words. Give your introduction, who you are, which section you are from, and if there is some roll number associated, you can give your roll number as well, and give whatever reasons for your absence are there in the briefest possible way. Similarly, for any other such thing. Now, there are certain do's and don'ts when you're writing an email. um, it's sad, but most of today's generation believes a lot in SMS language. I'll give you an example of one which is very, very common, which is IDK. Now, to my generation, IDK would have meant I for I, D for do, and K for no. But then your generation says IDK is I do not know. So, such abbreviations should be avoided. In fact, all SMS abbreviations should be avoided. So, let's just have a look at the do's first before we move on to the don'ts. Use an informative subject line. As all formal communication, even your email has to have a subject line. So, just as the example that I was describing to you, in the example, you have to be writing application for leave on so and so date. That's it. Full stop. You do not need to write too much in your subject. Write the most important information first. In this case, you have to be introducing yourself, your convey your roll number and your section so that it can be passed on to the concerned teacher, because she is the one who is going to be keeping a record of your if any such mails. Use simple grammar and language. You do not need to make it very verbose using very high sounding words. Just make it simple because it is just a way of communicating whatever your request is. Write short sentences. In fact, short sentences are a blessing for any kind of writing skill, because if you add too many clauses in a sentence, it becomes very difficult to connect to the first part of the sentence. Like, suppose I want to write a sentence, I will not be coming tomorrow as I will not be coming to school because my parents are going out, as they have uh, to go to a formal function for my mother who is attaining 50 years of 20 years of service in her office. Now, I do not know where the first part of the sentence was. So, break up this long sentence into two, three bits and keep your sentences very, very short. Use separate paragraphs if you need to give more information. A paragraph is generally used. Why? Because you need to break up your information into different subheadings, and any information under one subheading should come in one paragraph, and similarly, information and another subheading should come in the second paragraph. The email has to be put in a box in your answer sheets, right? Now let's talk about the don'ts. Do not write about irrelevant issues. I've just describe that to you. Do not give out personal information that you don't want anyone else to know, because when you're writing an email, it is not necessary it is going to be opened by that very specific person to whom it is addressed. It may be opened by many people. That email ID may be accessed by other people also. So do not give out unnecessary personal information which can otherwise be used in a negative way or misused. Do not use capital letters to write whole words as in emails. This is considered as shouting. Shouting in the sense you are being disrespectful. So, as far as possible, avoid capital letters. Do not use different fonts. Sometimes you feel okay, the Times New Roman or the Calibri font is seeming very boring. So let me use some other kind of font, could be Algerian or some other newer font. Now, what is going to happen? The moment you use that kind of a font, there is a great possibility that the person on the other hand does not have that font in his computer. And if that be the case, you are going to be in a fix because he is not going to be able to read your email. Coming then to the next one is do not use italics as far as possible. Avoid italics, right? Do not use exclamation marks as far as possible. Use only full stops, commas, or if it is required, hyphens for compound words or some such thing. You can also use colons, but as far as possible, avoid any other kind of punctuation marks. Do not use incomprehensible abbreviations. Do not use acronyms. Now, acronyms are some things which you will you kind of make it. It's a word which is a brief for a number of words put together. Now, if I were to say that I am going to NMMC, now if some person is not aware of what that is, he is going to get very confused. So please write full words as far as possible and avoid smileys. Smileys are the in things now, but then you do not want to do it because it is not necessary that the person across is familiar with all the smileys that are there. And smileys again is a very informal way of communicating. Our email communication, as I've said right in the beginning, is a formal communication, even though you may be writing it to someone who you are writing it informally. So now at the end, just let's get across to the format of the email. As I told you, it's to be put into a box. Now, the first 4 5 lines have to be in a separate panel, and the main body has to be in a separate panel. If you can see that, I hope it is visible to you. Now, if I bring the background, it should be better. Okay. So the first thing that you need to write is a date. Again, the date, we do not write it as 2010, 2023, 2010, 2024. It is, I have to write the date, the 20th of October, 2023. I will be writing it as 20THOCT, comma 2023, or I may write it as October 23, comma 2023. I'm not going to write 20 10 2023. That format is not accepted. Write down from. Now, from is not your name, it is your email address. So, your email address has to be mentioned, and you can cook up some email address based on the name of the person which has been given to you in the writing skill. Suppose you've been told that you are Namita who's writing the particular email, you can just write namita001 or some such thing at the rate gmail.com. It is not a hard and fast rule that everyone has to be having the same kind of email ID. So that's the from. After that, come to, since you're going to be writing to the principal, in that case, you can just write principal at the rate whatever school name has been given to you. Suppose it is Ashoka Public School, right? APS at the rate gmail.com or some such thing. So that's two. CCBCC, CC is and BCC are avoided here. CC actually, if you know, the full form is carbon copy. BCC is blind carbon copy. Blind carbon copy in the sense that when you send a BCC to someone, the person to whom the mail has originally been sent, the to addressee and the CC addressee are not able to see that you have actually sent it to the BCC person. But as I told you, in this particular case, you're not going to write anything on the right hand side in front of CC or in front of BCC. You're just going to fill up the date, the from, the to, and finally the subject. Now, coming to the rest of the body, which is to be in a separate box below. Now, you will see that it is Dear Sir, and Arun here has been just picked up as a name. If you are writing on an informal note, in that case, it will be Arun, or otherwise, you'll write Dear Sir, write the body of the email. If it is a formal email, you're going to be writing regards and then writing your name. And in the case of school email, you can also write your class and section roll number in brackets. Is that okay? So this is as far as the formats of these things are concerned. And so I think you would have a fair idea of how to attempt your factual description and your email writing in the board exams. This was my second lecture to help you for the writing skills. We will continue with article writing and formal letter in the third of this series. So, till then, have a good day. Thank you. And as usual, you all can see my numbers on the board. If you want to get in touch with me, you can please do so. Thank you.